Rob Christensen runs 4 home care agencies and day services. He created a brand new high margin revenue stream for placement fees when the need arises for a client to go into a facility. Stay tuned to learn how it works.
Welcome to the Home Care Heroes and Day Service Stars podcast. If you provide services to keep older or disabled people living at home, then this podcast is for you. Now, here's your host, Ken Accardi.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Home Care Heroes and Day Service Stars. I have a great guest today. His name is Robert Christensen. I met Rob a few years ago out on the West Coast, and Rob actually, I think at the time, was running 4 different home care agencies, and he's actually sold off a couple of those, and he's adding some in different geographies. So he's like a definite veteran of the industry. But something that is fascinating about Rob, and he's turned this into a side business as well, is that he kind of said, well, what's a bad day in your home care agency is that you lose a client because, unfortunately, they're just not going to be okay with home care anymore. Maybe they need to be in some kind of facility and that type of thing. And what Rob kind of figured out is, well, if we have relationships with those facilities in our area and we help our client find the right place, that we could actually get a commission for helping those people, and we're of course providing a service to our clients, and has created just a new growth path for that. So first of all, I've been babbling on here, but let me introduce Rob Christensen. Rob, welcome, and thank you for being on the show today.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, Ken. It's been fun just kind of ping-ponging off things up with you over the last 2 years, and so thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And okay, so so kind of tell us more. I mean, I kind of introduced the idea, but how did you get this idea of making placements?
Well, I've been doing this now for 12 years in the home care space, right? And one thing that you find is when you're a home care company, we make our bread and butter off of servicing clients in their own home. And 2 things happen a lot. Either the client's going to run out of money and can no longer afford home care, or the care levels that they need, it's kind of beyond your scope as a home care company, right? And so a lot of times we, as just wanting to hold on to our clients too long, and sometimes, because it's our bread and butter of how we make our living, right? What I found was as my clients got sicker, or as they ran out of money, or were running low on money, I'd get this call from them saying, "Hey, we're going to discontinue home care because we need to make a change," right? And so I started thinking about that, and that's when I came up with the concept of, really focusing on full service senior care. And so when we bring on a client now, we educate them about home care and what home care does, and then the value also of assisted living, and let them know, hey, there may come a time where they're either cash flow wise or care needs where you may need to transition. So we really take a full approach, so they know that we're looking out for their overall well-being as we care for them, right? And and really we've also went to our referral sources and said the same thing. Whether you're discharging somebody that needs home care or senior placement, we're your full service, home care, senior care, agency. And so that's kind of how the concept evolved. And now it's really easy when we're working with our families and clients. We do our 90-day service, visits, and see where they're at, and check in if they're looking in for placements, or and so we probably transition about 10% of our clients a month, from home care to senior placements.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's really about, what the needs of that person is at that time. And that's actually a much higher percentage than I thought it would be. But yeah, I guess if you think of the longevity in folks in home care, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, I mean, this is very altruistic to begin with and things like that. We want to help them get into a better place and all that sort of thing. But you actually have found that there's a little bit of a financial benefit there. So how does that aspect work?
Oh, sure. So, a lot, depending on what size of the community is, but if you got these smaller board and care homes that are in communities that are, 6 to 8 beds, and so if a facility goes, without, 2 vacancies in a month, it can really be the difference of them being, operational or not, right? And so, And there's no different that, when it comes to adding costs to a facility, whether you're going from 7 to 8 clients, you're really roughly the same cost, right? And so a lot of these facilities, and it's pretty standard in the industry, where if you are an agency that provides this service, these facilities will pay you, depending on what state you're in, 100% of board and care, if they come in and sign with you. So we have contracts, in the Northwest, we have 1,500 contracts, and, throughout the United States, we have others as well. And if they start one of our clients, then they pay us the first month's board and care. And if they don't take our clients, they don't owe us anything, so sometimes they don't need our services, and sometimes, they do need our services. So it's a good working relationship with our communities they work with. And then a lot of times those facilities that we're working with, when they need a sitter or they need somebody so they don't lose them, they'll call us, and we can provide, care by providing a sitter in a facility, or maybe they just need somebody overnight because they're low on their staffing in the evenings. So it's a good partnership with facilities.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I was going to say that. So the other thing is, if you have relationships with these facilities, like a lot of our home care agencies end up getting referrals, so somebody who's in assisted living, or maybe even, let's say, if it's a continuing care retirement community, maybe they're in more of an independent living, but they're kind of not quite to the level where they need to be assisted
Right.
living or nursing care, that kind of thing, but they might need some home care help. So you have now a relationship with them as your home care agency, and you're probably the first person on their mind when they're referring. Has that turned out to be the case as well, that you're getting referrals from those facilities that you place people in?
Yeah, absolutely. We not only we're getting referrals, and, because it's kind of a two-way, we're getting paid by them for bringing them people. And then, they don't want to lose people because they need to go to a higher level, or like if they're in the independent level. So yeah, they really see us as a marketing side on their side as well, that they can provide as needed home care services. So yeah, it's a great two-way relationship.
Yeah, perfect. So it's, yeah, symbiotic. You're making, kind of money, and there's now like kind of two revenue streams from that. Okay, so I guess now we've talked about how you figured out how to do it on your own and for your agencies and your geographies, but then you actually, went further, and you said, okay, well, this is a service that we've learned a lot about, and we could actually create some software online that, would help other people, do this. So, and the software is called Placed, Placed, and the website is eldercareplacementsoftware.com, and that sort of thing. So if I were to sign up for Placed, then, what am I getting in Placed? Like, and how is that helping me as as an agency trying to make these placements?
Well, what happened was, as this side of my business, this revenue line, started to grow, it became difficult to manage. I mean, for those of us managing a home care company, imagine having 30, 40 caregivers and not having the Ancora platform, or a platform to communicate with your caregivers and assigning shifts, right? You'd be constantly picking up the phone, answering text messages, looking at emails. There was no way to really scale. And so, having the background and using multiple home care platforms like Encoda, we kind of took some of those similar functionalities, and so we started working with facilities, and about 7 years ago started this platform called Place that you mentioned, that is very similar in functionality. That we've got right now, we have 70,000 facilities in our database. Also, about 50,000 referring facilities, the hospitals, skilled nursing facilities. And so all of these assisted living facilities or memory care units, they have their own secure portal, just like the caregivers have their own apps. And we now, when we get a client, or we're working with a client that is looking at a memory care unit in a certain zip code, we can, through a text message or through an email, send them a HIPAA secure communication where they can look at the plan of care, and decide if this is an appropriate patient, or resident for them, and then communicate back. So it's a quick way for us to communicate with facilities, them to communicate back with us, share information, and then share that with families, and allows us to really, scale the business appropriately. And also all of our referral sources, hospital case managers, nursing home case managers, they have a secure landing page where they can, when they're working with family members, they can sign on and send us referrals. And so those referrals dump immediately into our platform. And then we have a CRM that we can do marketing to both family members and clients and to our referral sources as well, and keeping them posted on how things are going and stuff that we're doing. So yeah, so Place evolved kind of the same way you need a platform to manage the home care business. As this begins to grow and you start working with, 4 to, plus clients a week in placements, you really need something to grow and, manage that business. So that's what Place has become.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, if I kind of try to bubble it down. So first of all, I have a directory of the facilities around me. With your 70,000 that you've captured, it's probably likely chance that most of the facilities around me are right there.
Mhm.
Second thing is I have the ability to do like a CRM. So I basically say, okay, these are the prospects that I have. These are the people that I'm trying to place. So you have a way of tracking those placements and that sort of thing. You have a secure and HIPAA compliant way of communicating with the facilities. And yeah, and I think that one thing when you showed me a demo, it's been a while back, but you also, have some matching criteria, right? So, so if you're really trying to find the best facility for an individual person, then you can kind of send it out to them, as you said, and say, well, here is the information, is this a good match for you? But then you also, I think, have in some cases gained information about, what might be the more appropriate facilities to
Yeah,
check in for
so
this person. Yeah, go ahead, talk more about that.
all the facilities have their own secure where they can put in all the features about their facilities, that they've got private rooms, they shared rooms, this is a secure memory care unit, 2 floors, all the features that these facilities offer and amenities, and then also all the services that they assist with, medication administration, bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, all the things that the features, I mean, the services that they provide. Well, our software that builds a plan of care and uses those same features or services in creating care plans. So we're going to look at what are the services needed, and what are the services provided. And so it looks and says, okay, what's the best match, both for services, for amenities and features on the facility, and also reimbursements. And then we show that to our clients that we're working with. And then, of course, we tour all these facilities before we go in, right? And so we've got boots on the ground. We know the marketers. We know every relationship with them, and we do an assessment. And so the platform has an assessment thing on there, much similar to like a 5-star rating scale that Medicare does for nursing homes. And so you're able to do an internal assessment, and then 90 days or 60 days, 30 to 90 days after they've been placed, a patient satisfaction survey goes out to either a family member, or if there's no cognitive impairment and the client you placed wants to do those surveys, we collect patient satisfaction surveys, by about the facilities from those that we're working with. So, and you can share that information, with other clients, not that person's, but as overall, we've placed 10 people in this facility, and our rating was a 4.5, and the satisfaction rating it matches that with a 4.8, and so
Yeah.
so it's not just us, but it's what our clients have said. But in addition to that, we also can track readmissions into hospitals. So if you've got somebody who's coming out that has heart failure, let's say, and now the hospital is being held accountable to readmissions within 60 days or 90 days, right? Then we have a platform where you can do these readmission services, and it will then trigger warnings of, hey, this could be a possible readmission, to help prevent that. And then when you've finished the 90 days, if they haven't been readmitted, then those case managers that refer the business to you, you can send them a report on how well their clients are doing and how much you as an agency are helping them achieve their goal of reducing hospital readmissions.
Okay. So so it was great. So we were talking a little bit more about how we have the matching, we have the criteria. I thought it's great that you kind of sign up, or you probably, use certain sources to find the facilities, but then you give the facility the ability to tell them tell you more about what they provide and how they provide and what payers and all that kind of thing. So I was with you there. And then I was actually going to ask specifically about, kind of the readmissions thing. So I know, like, taking a step back, that, hospitals, if, for the last 7 or 8 years, there's been some legislation that said, hey, if you discharge somebody and they have a readmission, then, that's something that, kind of affects your reimbursement and that kind of thing. So I guess I'm a little lost though, like how does either the home care agency or the facility, kind of deal with the readmissions thing, and how does Placed help with that aspect? I kind of just it didn't
Sure,
quite
sure.
crystallize for me.
So, for, hospitals, a lot of the hospitals that they'll identify according to Medicare standards, 10 to 12 different disease states, right? Where, they're at higher risk for readmissions, right? And so Medicare actually pays clinics, and they're become transitional care management clinics, right? There's, I think, 2 or 3 different ICD-9 codes where physicians are actually getting, paid, or clinics are getting paid to provide transitional care management stuff. And it's basic stuff that we as a home care agency, most of us, we're doing these services anyways, right? So when you sign somebody up for services and you place them in, somebody in an organization, whether it's the person that's helping them with the placement, or maybe you've got a nurse on staff, because remember, a placement, a lot of times in Washington, a placement is $8,000 in revenues.
Hmm.
Billed 30 days from now. So the margins are really are there's a lot of margin and room to have somebody help manage this process. So when we place somebody in, within 48 hours, we try to give a phone call, to the family member, and just ask some basic questions like, hey, how was your discharge? Do you know your plan of, did somebody review your discharge orders with you? Do you have your medications? Do you have your durable medical equipment, right? Do you have a doctor's appointment set up? Some basic questions. If they don't have their durable medical equipment, right? If they don't have their medications, there's a higher chance for a readmission, right? And so you can flag that in the software as you're collecting that information, and then it'll
Hmm.
send an email directly to the onboarding person at that facility that, hey, we just completed some of our readmission prevention services, and it looks like they're not aware of their medications they need to be taking, and they don't have their durable medical equipment. You may want to follow up with them, right? And so those are
Yeah.
things just to help that. And then a week later, you're going to follow up again and find out, hey, did you make it to your doctor's appointment? How are things going? Do you have those things? Have you gained any weight? Some additional questions. There's about 10.
Yeah.
And then, so that's a good checking point at about the 10 days to 14 days. And then at the end, at 30 days, we just follow up with a final call, asking pretty much the same questions. Um, and if they're not readmitted and they don't have any problems, you complete the survey, and it immediately sends an email to the referral source, saying, congratulations, your referral source is, yeah, I mean, your referral that you sent us has completed our readmission prevention services, and they weren't readmitted, and thanks for your trust in us. And we'd love to service more of your clients. And then it does the same thing to those hospitals. I mean, those assisted living facilities, letting them know, hey, great job in providing care for our client, and helping keep them safe at, in your facility. So, and then you can
Yeah.
generate
Fantastic.
all types of, data, and give that to your referral sources. And so you're really bringing good value to your referral sources, good value to your clients, because you're providing that service to keep them home, keep them in that facility safe, and then to your agency, so.
Yeah. So as we talked in the beginning, I mean, you're getting that placement fee, and wow, I mean, $8,000, that would be like that I had no idea those fees could be that high. So that's really impressive. And then we talked earlier about, now you would have the relationship with the facility, so they're probably referring to you for home care. And then
Sure.
they could also, as part of your service, you could make sure that those transitional care activities and like some of those tenets of high quality transitional care, making sure that we have the right meds, we have the right care plan, we have our DME,
Mhm.
we have a follow-up doctor's appointment, all those kinds of things. You can assure those as well. I totally get it. Okay, so I before we started recording, I asked you because I had seen on the website that you kind of referred to an agency that I think in their first 60 days working with you, they did like a large number of referrals, and and I think it was 100,000 in placements in 60 days. So like I mean without giving details, like I mean that's somebody who also does home care, right? And like so So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that a
I
lot
mean,
of times, yeah,
ultimately,
like tell me a little bit more about them.
this
Yeah.
this agency that we were working with was doing is, they've been doing home care. They were in business for about 8 to 9 years. So they've been in business for quite a while doing home care. And I know the owner and good friends, and he was asking me what I was doing, and he was interested. And so he just went to those same referral sources, and said, "Hey, we're expanding, and now we are providing full senior consultative, services, senior care services, whether they need placements or home care." And within the first 30 days, he had received, I think it was about 44 referrals that month for placement. And he got a handful for home care as well, because he continued to always get home care, but specific placement referrals, about 44 referrals. And inside of the first 90 days, he did $100,000 in placements. That was about a year and a half ago. And at this point now, that company just hired their second placement person on, or senior advisor, whatever you want to title them. And they're doing well over $100,000 a month in placements. So they've really become to the referral sources, that full service senior care company, where now they just they kind of have one person they can go to. They don't need to think, okay, here's the person I send my referrals for placements, and here's what I do with my home care. And then there's the existing home care business as well that you naturally would lose because they are, moving out of home care to placement. So it's been a great addition, and since then, in the last year, we're growing rapidly in agencies using our platform.
Yeah, fantastic. So I mean, a lot of times I think when we on the podcast here, we share a growth idea. Yeah, I think a lot of agencies are, there's like an inertial thing there. It's like, hey, we do home care, I mean, this sounds different, that kind of thing. I mean, we looked at the home care pulse report and we know that, depending on your geography and your size, that, most home care agencies are making pretty low margins on home care. But when you kind of gave that example earlier, it sounds like, with they're bringing on a second person, so it's really been kind of one main person doing this placement service, and and their revenue is about 100,000. I would imagine that this placement person is not making 100,000 a month, right? So,
Yeah.
um, as compared to the caregiver who probably is making two-thirds of the hourly wage that you're collecting for the home care, you might be paying that out to the caregiver. But so I guess for people who are saying, I'm not sure, like what are the margins like that you're seeing on the placement side?
Well, it's interesting because what happens is usually when you start offering this service, a lot of times you'll set aside a percentage of, and it can be very lucrative for your placement specialist. It's in there, 40%, even up to 50%, so if you've got somebody who has great relationships with referral sources, and you're making, some, on average, I think the average, there's a national association the placement companies that work with. I think the average place is about $4,000 nationally, right? So we're talking $2,000 going to the placement rep, and another 2,000 going to your agency. But
Yeah,
as you,
fantastic.
but as you grow, though, what happens is, and I've seen some other companies that we've brought on, they bring on a nurse full time or a licensed clinical social worker, right? And they come on at their regular nursing wages and rates, and so now you have a more of a flat fee service, where the nurse or the social worker that's working with the family to do the placement, they're kind of flat fee, maybe with a little bit of compensation on top of that. But your marketer now is going out and marketing and picking up home care, and they're also picking up placements. And now they're getting paid a smaller commission, like a 10% commission. And so
Got it.
as the referral source comes in, and you're able to scale and make those margins where there's 60, 70, 80% margin on top of it, when you're getting into the point where you're now billing in. Some of these agencies are doing $2 million in placements a year,
Yeah,
so.
unbelievable. Yeah. And and I used the term, I think earlier as we were talking here, you kind of called it full service senior care. So really, you're kind of expanding, not only do we do home care, or a lot of the audience now of this podcast is also people who run day centers. and things like that. But not only are you doing home care or daycare, but you're providing a more complete service, and you might find somebody who say, hey, the right thing for you now is the day center. The right thing for you is, for you and your family is to have somebody in a facility, and you're providing more of a service. You're becoming more of a resource to your community and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I think it's a home run,
Yeah.
Rob. I'm really, really, really glad that you shared this with us today. So I think we'll bring it to a wrap up. So let me just say again, one more time, thank you to Robert Christensen, Rob. And also, if you'd like to learn more about this software that can really help you jumpstart in this business, go to the website. It's eldercareplacementsoftware.com. And, so it's all one word, eldercareplacementsoftware.com. And that'll take you right there. And you can get in touch with Rob and his team and get a demo of the system and, take a serious look at adding placements and really adding to the capabilities of your agency. So with that, thank you so much, Rob Christensen.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Ken.
All right, have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for joining us today on the Home Care Heroes and Day Service Stars podcast, produced by Encoda. You can listen to back episodes by visiting 4homecareheroes.com. That's the number 4, then the words homecareheroes.com.